Gone ahead and put the valve body over here on my draining table so I can show you a little close-up of some of the internal components. This is where that guide bushing that I showed you earlier how to take off would actually fasten to. And if you had actually over tightened that 7mm bolt, you would actually had stripped it out in here, and you would have had to force it off, then drop the pan, the valve body, and replace this overlay assembly right here. The portion that's yellow and a little bit of the black is removable and can be replaced separately, as well as you've got your individual solenoids here, and here. They're just held down with a Torx bolt, holding them down, basically clamping them down. Then you've also got your speed sensors that are located here and here that pick up on the drums themselves inside the transmission. When we are looking up from the bottom, once we drop the valve body, you've seen some larger openings inside. That's actually where these speed sensors will get their readings off the tone wheels on those drums. Now when we go back up with the valve body, the one thing we're going to worry about keeping in line is just this particular link right here. This portion that comes off this shift fork right here, that's going to be lining up with a piece on the valve body. It goes to basically a V. So it's nothing major. The portion on the valve body, it's actually a valve, will actually move, so you actually can put it in place and then go ahead and fasten the valve body where it needs to. Let me show you on the valve body exactly where that piece that we're going to be lining up is. This is the valve body portion. This right here, this little, I call it the comb wheel. It rides on that rooster tail shifter linkage that basically gives you your sensation of what gear you're in. This is actually what we're going to be lining up. As you can see, that valve actually moves in and out, so it's not going to be a problem. And it's got a little slot, kind of a V, to funnel down that little rod, that little piece that sticks out on that linkage. So when you go back with it, just make sure when you're going up that you do get the two lined up. This one right here, like I said, is going to ride on the rooster tail. Pay no attention to the piece sticking out. That's normal. Some people might think, oh, that's supposed to go in there. Actually, it's not. So with that, let's go ahead and get the valve body up. We got to replace the valve body. It's starting to go up. As we go up, we pay attention to where that link is. We go. Grab a couple of our Torx, those P30s. Make sure you don't mix them up with the ones that hold the pan on. These are a little bit darker in color. We're just going to go ahead and just line them up with a screwdriver. Something just to keep the weight off of us. Now we can go back through and start installing the rest of them. Now the actual torque on these bolts is 71 inch-pounds, and there is no particular order that they suggest, so just go ahead and just get them up in there, and then go ahead and grab your torque wrench and go to 71 inch-pounds. Alright, time to put the filter on. Get your little extra trans fluid, put around that seal, and get lined up in the hole. So this is going to be our little cutout that finger's going to go up in. I'm just going to slowly start working it up. Keep it close. Now look over here and actually observe it a little bit. There we go. Now it's in the spot. It's actually staying in place pretty good. Sometimes they have a tendency to want to hang down. And we're going to move on to that. Putting that electrical guide bushing back in place. And as we said, we're just going to snug it up. We're not going to go too tight. Just enough that we don't strip it out. Now if you want an actual torque spec, that's going to be 22 inch-pounds. I've done enough of these so I know about how tight I need to get it. If you've never done one, 22 inch-pounds is what you're going to need. Now it's like I showed you earlier. I'm going back with the original one. We didn't have to replace it for leaking, but if you did, make sure you have both O-rings out of that bore up in here, and then you're gonna reinstall your new one. I like to put a little lube on here, and then it's just a matter of finding a keyway position. I kind of rotate till I feel it engage, and then it's just a matter of pushing till I hear it snap, or bottom out, whatever you want to call it. And of course you got your 7mm in the center that you're going to snug up. So I just go hand tight, and it doesn't need to be nothing excessive. And then you just get your connector the same way. It can only go in one way, rotate it around until you finally get keyed in. And then I rotate my connector clockwise, the lock ring clockwise, so it snaps. Now we've got that in place, good to go. Filters in place, now it's time to put the pan on. We're going ahead and clean the pan, put a new gasket all the way around. Now we just go ahead and line everything up. Right before we do that, let's go ahead and get one good little wipe to that clean surface. The super drip. There we go. This is what we need. And line it up. Make sure your gasket doesn't roll under itself. That happens from time to time. Just get one side started, basically like we did when we were trying to drain the pan. Move stuff around. So you get all 6 in place. Like I said before, this is actually the same torque specs as the valve body. It's going to be 71 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. 71 inch-pounds. So you go around and snug them up. And we'll come back and torque them. Make sure everything's good, nothing far. Now, like I said, you do this enough, you get a lot of times you don't torque certain things. I'm personally not going to, but I want to show you the right way. The right way is to torque at 71 inch-pounds. I just make sure the gasket's not rolled if I'm snugging everything up. And with that, I'm going to go back and snug it up. And then all we've got left to do is put that cross member up under here. And at that point, spray it down a little bit, brake clean, make sure there's no residue anywhere. And we're going to put this car back on the ground. Alright, so at this point we're going to go ahead and start putting some fluid in this vehicle. I usually start out about 4 quarts, mainly because I like to underfill instead of overfill. That way I don't have to fight with sucking the fluid back out. Go ahead and add me about 4 quarts. This being a NAG transmission, very few of them have dipsticks. There are a few models that do. This particular one does not. So there is an actual tool for checking it. Basically it's a dipstick. They just don't put them on the vehicle. I think mainly the reason is because they want the fluid level to be based off the temperature of the transmission. They actually have a graph that they've charted out that while reading with a scanner, monitoring the transmission fluid temperature and reading the numbers on the stick tells you about where you need to be. I use a rule of thumb. The stick is numbered from 0 on up to 120. I like my fluid level to be around 40, 50 max. That's a good ballpark reading right there. So instead of hooking up, letting it warm up, check everything that way, I can kind of add some fluid, go do something else, come back, put my test dipstick in, find my number. Once I get around 40, I feel comfortable, I'm good to go. With that, we'll go ahead and get this fluid level topped off correctly and we'll get ready to button this job up. Alright, so there you go, NAG transmission and the valve body assembly. Not really too difficult to put in whatsoever, just follow those simple steps. There's nothing I need to do afterwards as far as what they call a quick learn on that transmission. All I gotta do is put the fluid in, drive it, make sure everything shifts out fine. So with that, it's another simple repair, just follow the steps. Otherwise, I always appreciate you watching my videos. Always gonna be putting out more. And I really appreciate when you share them. And make sure you subscribe. Every time you subscribe, you're gonna get notified when there's more and more videos coming out. So maybe something comes out that maybe pertains to something you own, something that maybe a friend of yours owns, or something that you might even be working on. So with that, thank you very much.